Hello, my name is Himani Rohatgi and I'm from Team 10. My team facilitated the discussion on conflict and negotiation. My team members include Amit Sawant, Nishant Salian, Sambit Sahu, Sarah Selvin, and myself. Through this video, I will walk you through all the topics that we discussed, the highlights of the topics, and finally what we learned from the project. Let me start by giving you a brief overview of conflict. Conflict is perception-based and it exists when a person believes that another might obstruct his or her efforts. The second topic was negotiation. Negotiation is a way to resolve conflict where two or more parties discuss to reach a more satisfactory arrangement in their exchange of goods or services. I will now walk you through the discussion starters. The first discussion starter was an implication for actions. The question is, how might you as a manager find the best way to manage and resolve workplace conflicts that are supported by the evidence discussed in the chapter? How can you use this knowledge to help you be a more effective manager? How can you as an employee use this new knowledge to be more effective in your career? Students agreed that the conflict resolution style is indeed situation-based. One may need to execute multiple conflict resolution methods in a situation based on the scale of the conflict. A great suggestion made by a classmate in this scenario was to incorporate training new hires to understand the work culture and the use of appropriate conflict handling style as per the situation. The next discussion starter is on investigative negotiation. The question is, give an example of a scenario where you rescued or saw someone rescue a deal with investigative negotiation skills. Our classmates found this concept very useful and relevant. They shared examples of their experience with investigative negotiation. Most of the examples revolved around using the first three principles of investigative negotiation, which are understanding the cause, mitigating constraints, and interpreting demands as opportunities. The next discussion starter was on the influence of culture. The question is, what role do cultural differences play in managing conflicts? Share an example of a situation where cultural differences influenced the conflict. How did cultural differences impact the resolution? General consensus is that cultural differences play a significant role when it comes to the source of the conflict as well as the resolution strategy. Several participants shared examples of the conflict they faced due to cultural differences and how it impacted them. An important point mentioned was the need to include cultural grooming at the workplace so as to understand the different norms of various cultures so that this type of conflict can be mitigated. Moving on, the next discussion starter was a self-assessment on conflict management style. It was by MH Education. The question is, do you agree with the results? Which conflict management style do you usually prefer? And which one would you like to improve? This was quite a popular thread, with several people attempting the assessment. The highest scores were for collaboration and compromise conflict management styles. Most people pointed out that their type of profession plays a significant role in their choice of conflict management style. They also pointed that avoiding a conflict has adverse effects. This is a critical thinking question. The question is, you're a special assistant to a commander-in-chief of a peacekeeping mission to a war-torn part of the world. The unit consists of a few thousand peacekeeping troops from different countries. The troops will work together for approximately 1 year. What strategies would you recommend on improving mutual understanding and minimize conflict amongst the troops? The class unanimously agreed that conflict is inevitable, but the focus must be kept on achieving the common goal. They mentioned that having a common higher authority would help in this regard. A great point mentioned was that ice-breaking group activities would help increase cohesiveness. The next discussion starter is on relationship conflict. The question is, have you ever been in a relationship conflict at work? How did it impact the team? How did you resolve it? Looking back, what could you have done differently in that situation? Please give an example to answer the above from your experience. Several of our classmates participated in this discussion and shared examples of the relationship conflict that they had faced in their academic or professional experience. Everyone had a varied approach to resolving these types of conflicts. Some suggested the use of diplomacy or submissive behavior. Some even suggested avoidance. Overall, it was a great exchange of ideas and very interesting to know how different people handle relationship conflict at work. The next discussion starter is a CTQ, to speak or not to speak. The question is, assume your team is in a conversation with a potential client. They will give you the project if you can deliver in 3 months. From experience, you know that the work will take almost 5 months. However, if you say this to the client, you may not get the project. How would you approach this negotiation? The class unanimously agreed that honesty is the best approach in this negotiation and that the client should not be given any false hope regarding the timeline. Many students pointed out that the organization can offer the client a few extra services in order to secure the project. The next discussion starter was on constructive conflict. The question is, have you ever been in a situation where conflict led to an increase in performance? Please give an example. For this discussion, the general consensus is that conflict definitely has its benefits. It can make employees work harder due to a sense of competition and hence lead the organization to achieving its goals. The next discussion starter was named No Conflict, No Interest. The question is, have you been in a situation where not having enough conflict was a problem? What could have been done to improve the situation? This discussion brought to point how conflict can be harnessed to energize teams and increase efficiency. Students shared experiences where lack of conflict had led to inefficiency and how it was mitigated by introducing some conflict. This discussion starter is called Two Ends of a Spectrum. The question is, do you deal with conflict differently with friends and family than you do at work? If so, why do you think that is the case? Students unanimously agreed that as the comfort level decreases, the level of obstinacy decreases. That is, they are less yielding to family than they are to a colleague at work. They felt that the conflict resolution at work is more about increasing efficiency, while with friends and family, it is more about emotions. This discussion starter is called Give a Little, Take a Little. The question is, compromising involves looking for a position in which your losses are offset by equally valued gains. Have you ever faced a situation which has had extreme pressure and you had to resort to compromise approach to resolve the conflict amongst two parties? If yes, then can you share the experience and your learning from the same? This discussion focused on the use of innovative ideas to reach a compromise such that there were no incurring losses to the company or the team, and organizational benefits were given utmost priority in reaching a compromise. This discussion starter was a comparison between task conflict and relationship conflict. The question is, share some examples of how you have distinguished task conflict from relationship conflict and explain how you have maintained some degree of task conflict while minimizing relationship conflict. This discussion brought to attention the fact that there is a thin line between relationship conflict and task conflict. And task conflict converts into relationship conflict very easily. Therefore, utmost care must be taken to prevent that from happening. This is a self-assessment. The question is, what type of a negotiator are you? How in sync is the result with your own assessment? And did the result surprise you? If possible, try to relate the assessment with your experience to justify. This thread was quite a success with several participants. It enabled students to determine their areas of strength and the areas they need to improve on. This discussion starter is an implication for action. The question is, are you a good negotiator? Can you describe a scenario from the past where you could have negotiated better and how you would have changed it? This discussion received varied responses with people mentioning different styles and techniques that can be used to negotiate. The highlight, though, was that one must acquire the required knowledge beforehand and must possess the ability to leverage this information at the right time to get the best out of the negotiation. This exercise has been a very enriching experience. It has equipped us with tools to resolve conflict more efficiently and negotiate better deals. Besides that, it also gave us an opportunity to enhance our creativity. Further, it helped us gain a broader perspective. Finally, it gave us the opportunity to learn about each other and form a lasting friendship. One thing we all felt we should have done differently was to have started work on this project sooner. That would have given us more opportunity to interact with each other and learn from each other. Thank you all so much for participating and for making our facilitation so much fun.